How you doing? It's the Butcher here, and today I have my final build for kind of season 1 moving into the Eternal Realm, and this one's a rogue. This is the third character I used this season, and this build's a beast, and I do want to first shout out Lucky Luciano. I took a lot of inspiration from his rogue build, even though I was kind of running something similar myself, but specifically with the Paragon board and some of the things he did over there I thought were awesome. So I do want to give him a shout out. I'm going to link his video in the description as well if you guys want to go check it out. It is inspired by him, specifically the Paragon board. Everything else, is pretty standard for a Poison Rogue build, but I thought he did some really interesting stuff with the Paragon board. And I kind of took that and I tweaked it and I came out with this build, which I think is an improved version, but it's kind of up for you to decide. So first things first, let's go to the skill tree real quick. Not much has changed from pretty much any Twisting Blades builds. We're taking Puncture, Enhance into Fundamental for the Vulnerable, maxing out Twisting Blades into Improve for the Daze. We're taking 3 points into Sturdy for that close DR, and then Siphoning Strikes. And then down here, we're only going to take 1 point into Shadow Step and 1 point into Dash because we need the points other places. We're using Dash to kind of just move around. We're using Shadow Step really mainly as our way to get out of CC, and then if we know we're not going to get CC, we can use it to move around. We have 1 point into Weapon Mastery. We are using double daggers, so I don't love this, this passive here for daggers just because you only get it to healthy. I think it's a lot better when you have swords or something like bows. And then moving down here, we're going to take 1 point into Rapid Gambits because we are using the Penitent Greaves and they don't have the extra evade charges and you got to wait the full 5 seconds. So this will make it so our evades up pretty much all the time. And then from there, we're taking 1 point to Trick Attacks just to get that knockdown specifically for the concussive, so we get that big crit strike chance against the knockdown. You'll see how that all works in a minute. And then this actually isn't going to be on our skill bar, but we have Dark Shroud and we're taking that into Enhance, so we have a better chance of keeping those up. And then we're taking into Countering, so we get more crit chance. And crit chance is very important because we need to crit strike for our Siphoning Strikes and then to crit strike for the lucky hit for the Bursting Venoms to keep our Poison Imbuement up. Down here, we're taking Poison Trap into Enhance, into Countering, so we have a shot at resetting our Imbuments. And then we're taking Exploit, just 1 point into there. I have 3 on my Amulet. I'll discuss that in a minute. And then we're taking that down into Malice. And then we have 3 points into Precision Imbuement because we need that crit strike chance to keep that imbuement up, specifically the Bursting Venoms. Then maxing out Poison Imbuement, and we have 4 from our Helmet into Enhance, into Blended. And then 1 point into Deadly Venom just to get the 3 points into Debilitating Toxins for the DR. This is mainly focused on pushing high tier content. And I should mention, with this build, kind of like Lucky says in his video, I'm able to take down tier 100 Nightmare Dungeons relatively easily, and I'm able to beat Uber Lilith as well. It's more optimized for the Nightmare tier dungeons just because I feel like once you beat Uber Lilith, there's no point to keep doing it. But you can tank Uber Lilith hits, and that's probably something I'll show at the end of this video. I can post a full fight at some point if people want that, of me actually beating her with this build. But I will show just like tanking like multiple hits, maybe just like a quick clip of that. But anyways, where was I? We're taking 3 points into Frigid Finesse, and this is really where I would like, you'll see, probably the 3 points from the Amulet to be, but it is what it is. We're taking 3 points into Intervention to keep our energy up, taking 3 points into Trap Mastery, so we again get that crit chance when we use our Poison Trap. And then our key passive here is going to be Momentum. Now for the gear, we're using rubies in the armor. And for our helmet, we want pretty much these 4 affixes right here. The one I would drop would probably be cooldown if you didn't have it for something like, maybe crowd control duration or something like that. But we have cooldown. We have max life, we have rank star Poison Imbuement, and we have total armor, and we're using the Stolen Vigor aspect, and we have a max roll on this, so every second we're healing over 1,000 life, which is really nice, especially in like Nightmare Dungeons with damage over time. This kind of counteracts it, and pair that with our Siphoning Strikes are constantly healing, which is really nice. And then I always do this for our chest piece and our pants. We'll do these together. On one of them, you're going to want the Umbris aspect. That way you can spawn the Dark Shrouds. And then on the other one, we're going to want the Might aspect because we are using our basics so often. We'll get that 20% DR, which is very, very nice. And on both of them, you're going to want the same rolls. I actually don't have the ideal rolls. You're going to want close, distant, max life, total armor. On both of them would be ideal. And then if you can't get either close or distant, you regular DR would be great. Then moving down to our gauntlets here, we have the shared misery aspect. And we're constantly crowd controlling things, especially when we daze and knock back and things like that. And then we have a good chance of spreading that around. So everything around us is just dazed or knocked down or whatever it might be. And we're going with our classic gloves. And these are actually really good rolls. These are really good gloves that we use on most builds, though. We have Ranks of Twisting Blades, attack speed, lucky hit chance, crit strike chance on these. Then our one unique in this build is the Penitent Greaves, and that's to apply the chill. And for this, you really just want to find ones that have a good roll of movement speed and crowd control duration. The cold resistance, and slow duration don't really matter. Same thing with the kind of 7 to 10%. Obviously, you would like it higher, but we'll just take the 8%. And then for our weapons here, we are using the, I always forget what these are called, the purple ones. We're using the purple ones for the damage over time, because our main source of damage is going to be that poison imbuement. So we're using a crossbow for the innate vulnerable damage. For a crossbow, we want all stats and dex, and all stats is very important on this, and you'll see our other dagger to hit some of the paragon nodes, and we'll see some things we do in our paragon board. And then preferably, this isn't really the best crossbow at all. I actually have a better one. I just have no gold to reroll it for the all stats. But you want vulnerable and core, and if you can't get one of those two, close works as well. And then same thing for our other dagger here. I actually have close instead of vulnerable, like I said, if you can't get them both. And then I have all stats and dex. And we're using the accelerating aspect on our two-hander, so we get 50% increased attack speed for 5 seconds when we get a crit strike with our core skill. So we basically will have that all the time. And then on our one dagger here, we are using second unique. I don't know why I said we are using one unique. But on our one dagger, that's not a unique here. We are using the Pestilent Points aspect, and this will allow every third cast of puncture to be poison imbued, therefore giving us a chance to get the bursting venoms, which you'll see up here, which will reset our poison imbuement. And then our second unique is going to be Ashira's Kenjar, sure, if that's how you say it. But it's a dagger where it increases your attack speed for hits with the weapon. And you really want as high of a roll you can get on this. So for this, you're really looking for just the two things are the max roll on that bottom unique skill or unique aspect, and then lucky hit chance. And then damage to crowd control would probably be the other kind of important one. I don't have a great roll on that, but I have a great roll on the other two, even though it's not that high of item power. We deal with it. And from there, we have, like I said, the purple ones in both of these. And then our gear, and we'll go over the hearts. We're using the Trickery Heart, which is for our Poison Trap to lure enemies in and daze them, or taunt them, I believe. We're using the Heart of Revenge for the damage suppression, and we're using the Barber Heart. We're not using the, whatever the one is that does more damage over time. We're using this essentially so the poison bursts basically after 3.2 seconds. For higher tier content, I recommend something around 3. If you're kind of speed farming lower tier content, something around 2 works great. This basically just makes that poison burst, at that time and kill the enemies then instead of waiting the extra, I believe it's 6 seconds. So this basically makes it into 3.2, which is nice and adds a little bit of damage as well too. But these hearts I don't think will be that important once we move into the Eternal Realm, and that's why I really like this build, not just for the last couple of weeks of Season 1, but the Eternal Realm as well. So then, starting with the amulet, we'll go over what we're looking for. So on the amulet, we're using Corruption. And this is one of the ways, I know Lucky in his video says to use Disobedience for Nightmare Dungeons and Corruption for fighting something like Uber Lilith. But I got so much armor and DR by the way I set this up that I don't think I actually need Disobedience. This might be the only build I've ever run in this game without Disobedience. But look at our armor and you'll see the amount of DR we have. It's crazy. So I'm actually running corruption on here and not using disobedience at all, and having no problem with tier 100 nightmare dungeons for the most part. So on our amulet, we're really going to want energy cost reduction, total armor, some form of DR, and then one of the offensive aspects. I have exploit. I would probably say the two best are either frigid finesse or malice. You can also go with imbuement skills as well, but I don't think that helps as much as just getting the straight more damage from one of the offensive kind of passive skill tree points there. But yeah, I would probably say malice or frigid finesse. Probably go frigid finesse first, then malice, then exploit, then maybe weapon mastery or something like that, or even imbuement skills before weapon mastery. But yeah, we're using corruption here, and that's one of the big differences. We're using this for everything, and that's what allows this build to just stay the way it is and be so good. Then coming down to our rings, on both of them, we want the same thing. And on one of them, I mentioned before, we had the bursting venoms to try to get our imbuements back up. And then on the other one, we have the blade dancers, so our twisting blades orbit when they come back. And on both of them, we want crit strike chance, max life, and lucky hit chance. That's pretty much a must. And then for the other one, I would prefer probably vulnerable on both, but you want something that will basically help your imbuement skills. So here I have poison, here I have close. Again, I think you basically, and you want anything but crit essentially. Close isn't bad. Poison's really not the best at all. But yeah, I do have really good rolls on the other thing, so you take it. But yeah, I would suggest probably vulnerable if you can get it would be the best thing. And then for specialization, we're using combo points. Try to get 3, as many as you can, except when you have the bursting venoms activated, you can just kind of spam it. But yeah, my combo point usage is not great at all. So try to get 3 when you can, but if not, it's not the end of the world. And then finally, let's move over to our Paragon board quickly. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I will have my version posted on the D4 website and linked down in the description to this video for you guys to check out. But again, this is heavily inspired by Lucky's video that I will link in the description. And I'll kind of just show just the things I'm using and the one big change I made. So Devious down here to get the extra bonus to the magic nodes. We're using control over here. We are using closer right here, and we're grabbing tricks of the trade. He doesn't grab tricks of the trade in his. He grabs cheap shot or whatever it's called. But I think tricks of the trade is the best legendary node for a rogue, for a Twisting Blades rogue build. So I really want to grab that. And what I did, and this is really the big change, is he has one more board where he takes, I believe it's called Turf. Yes, Turf. You gain the 10% DR and then you gain damage to close targets. But he does not grab this over here. And this ends up being pretty similar. We have 4.5 plus 2 plus... So we end up getting, what is that, like 8 point something percent, close to 9%, basically 9% damage reduction for close. So that basically equals the Turf one. And then we have 24, we have 30 here, where I think with the other one we end up getting like 57, so you get a little bit more there, but we don't have to go all the way into a new board, which I think is very important. And the main thing with this board as well too, and it's really a testament to him the way he set it up, is the amount of life we're able to grab using this to get the bonus to rare nodes for the huge amount of damage and life. Coming down here, I'm grabbing life. Like I mentioned, this is the one legendary node I grab that he doesn't end up grabbing, and then I make a lot of changes over here because I have more points to work with because I have the extra board where I'm able to get more core, and then I'm getting more armor, and then finally exploit over here. Yeah, so that is the Paragon board. I just wanted to kind of go over it briefly, and again, it will be up on the website if you guys want to take a look at it. I'm sure someone can optimize it even farther than I did. I think my version, I like the way this version works, especially because I'm grabbing so much armor and then using corruption, but you can take a look at Lucky's video and use his Paragon board is fantastic as well. So I'm going to jump into some Nightmare Dungeon gameplay, and then I'll probably at the end show just a little bit of Uber Lil, just so you can see how tanky it is, and me just tanking Uber Lil shots, and it makes the fight honestly pretty easy. But yeah, let's jump into some Nightmare Dungeon gameplay, and I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay guys, and now for the Nightmare Dungeon gameplay. We do have a tier 98 Collapse Vault We do have Drifting Shade, which I absolutely despise, but I don't have a ton of gold because I've spent a lot of it making these builds for the end of the season, so beggars can't be choosers, but it'll work out just fine. So I'm going to go through and show you guys gameplay. One thing I did want to mention before I start, though, is if you are running a hardcore character, you do want to put Disobedience on your amulet, instead of Corruption. Just for the extra defense, I think it's worth if you're running a hardcore. But if you're running a regular character, then I would use Corruption with this build. I think it works better. But anyway, let's hop in. Let's show you guys kind of what the build can do and how we play it. And first thing I want to note is I am terrible at talking and playing at the same time. So sorry if my gameplay is bad or I'm stuttering or whatever it might be. But second thing I want to note is out of combat, we're actually relatively slow for a rogue, as I get stunned there because I wasn't paying attention. But in combat, once we get our bonuses from momentum and our combo points, we actually fly around. And you can see the kind of damage we do. It's pretty nuts. And then the main way you want to play this is kind of in the namesake of momentum. You want to have basically that up at all times, and you want to keep these Dark Shrouds up at all times, as many as possible, because when we have 5, we get 40% DR, which is just an astronomical number. So I mean, you kind of want to play it the way it's almost meant to be played, which is kind of nice because a lot of times you just do some cheesy stuff. But I feel like this is the way it's meant to be played. I hate Drifting Shade with the burning passion, but we'll make do. But yeah, once we get you do have to wait for your poison imbuement sometimes. It's not bugged like it was before when I was running Rogue earlier in the season, where the bursting venoms would just proc all the time. You actually see we'll have to wait a lot of times for this now, which does suck a little bit, but I still think it is one of the best builds, especially once we move into the Eternal Realm. I don't really see a build that's going to beat it right now. Move through, and we're doing decent damage, and you can see without Disobedience, just the amount of DR is absolutely insane, and the amount of damage we're still able to put out once we have our poison imbuement up is still pretty nuts. And this would be a lot quicker if it wasn't a kill-all. Didn't pick the best dungeon, as I said, with the Drifting Shade and then have it be a kill-all, but I just basically want to show off the way it works. And you can see even in the tier 98, so I know it's not 100, but it's 2 off. It's essentially the same. We're still able to basically tank everything, even without Disobedience on. And as I mentioned, this might be the only build that I've used so far, like in the entire game without Disobedience. But we have so much armor already that I don't even find it necessary. That's the freaking Drifting Shade comes in. I don't even find it necessary, and I'd rather get that extra damage with Corruption, and we can just kind of fry these things. And we won't have the Barber Heart after this season. But the only thing that's really going to affect is just how quickly the poison procs. So you're probably going to have to move through it a little bit slower as you kind of wait for the poison to kill the enemies. And it will do a little bit more damage, but besides that, it shouldn't be too bad. We'll come over here, we'll take care of these elites. And I know we won't have that trickery. God, Drifting Shade's so annoying. I know they're nerfing in Season 2, thank God. So normally I would just skip it, but I don't have, like I said, a ton of gold to complete these builds with. And this is going to be my last one for Season 1. I might just do some like showcases or stuff like that until Season 2 comes out. But yeah, Drifting Shade's being nerfed for Season 2. Season 2 looks quite promising. I'm very excited. It comes out in about a week and a half now, a little over a week and a half, I think, from probably when this video goes up. So it should be fun. And hopefully a lot of the changes they make, I know they're adding a lot more kind of incentive to play higher tier content, which is really nice, which is something that's been severely lacking, because beating like Uber Lilith, once you beat it once, I don't really see the point, as I kind of mentioned before. And then, you know, you just kind of grind out these either high tier dungeons or you speed farm like tier 70s or something like that. And there's just not a lot of incentive right now, but they're adding basically ways to get Uber uniques, level 9, 20 gear, I think it goes up to now from certain bosses, if I heard it right in a live stream that they did. And that's really nice, and it should be a nice way to freshen up the game. So I'm really excited, and I'm definitely going to be going all out in the content for Season 2. So if you're liking these kind of end of the season builds, and a lot of that content from Season 2 is going to be the Eternal Realm, so it would be real nice for these characters. I hope I don't want to do your little event. It'll be real nice for these characters that are moving over to the Eternal Realm that should have good builds for them to be able to take down some of that content, get your hands on some Uber Uniques or some level 9, 20 gear, whatever it might be. But I'm like half paying attention. I know I'm playing this terribly, probably like, what are you doing? And I'm sorry, but you can see even with my horrendous gameplay, we're still able to move through this relatively easily, relatively safely, and just take out enemies. And I know I could be doing this a lot faster and a lot more efficiently, but it is what it is. And then I'm kind of excited just to show that Uber-Lilith gameplay, because without disobedience, we can still tank so many hits. It like trivializes the fight. So this should be pretty damn good for those new boss fights they're adding, which is pretty cool because I believe that's the way you get the level 920 gear and the like the crafting materials for Uber Uniques. I think it's through the new bosses they're adding. So that should be pretty cool. And I think this build should transfer over well. I don't see why it wouldn't unless there's some drastic changes they make, and then we'll have to see with the new mechanics for Season 1, or Season 2, excuse me, kind of what the meta is over there and what cool and unique builds we can maybe work out with some of the new like vampiric abilities. Probably a lot of health regen, so working around that. Maybe Teremity might be something that's really good if there's like a ton of health regen or something. But we'll obviously have to start fresh, so you have to find the Teremity first before we know. And we're kind of just flying by these guys until we get to like a pack of elites or something, or the objective. And I really do like the reworks they're doing to Nightmare 2 dungeons. There's going to be a lot less objectives apparently. There's going to be a lot less backtracking. Those are really the two most annoying things. Hopefully a lot less of the slay alls. The slay alls are really annoying because you do have to literally kill everything. You can't just run by like little measly guys that you don't really care about. You have to kill everything. But probably one of the harder. Let me. Oh my god! I was trying to shadow step out and it just wasn't letting me for some reason. But one of the worst enemies for this is probably Vampiric, just because damage over time isn't great for that, because they can heal for it while your damage over time is going, but it's still normally not a problem at all. It just might be a little bit annoying occasionally. And I think, get away from me. Just want the gold. And we'll head back here and we'll absolutely, this thing's a boss shredder, so we shouldn't have problems with the little locust thing or whatever it is. That's the boss fight in this. I forget what it's called. Out of my way, get out of my way. I'm just trying to get to the boss arena. Okay, we'll finish this off and then I'll show Uber Lilith gameplay after, but first let's take care of this. And the drifting shade does make you annoying, but we will be fine. We'll persevere through the drifting shade. And we do get a ton of stagger actually against bosses. Even Uber Lilith without like Fist of Faith, we stagger pretty damn easy. And you can see the boss is dead. It's just a matter of time. There goes the proc, and there goes the dungeon. So that's the gameplay, and now I'm going to hop over quick just to some Uber Lilith gameplay, just to show it off real quick, just because I think it's really impressive. So I'll see you guys there in a sec. Okay guys, and now quickly just the Uber Lilith gameplay. I just basically want to show off the damage we can do, and then being able to tank hits, because I think that's really impressive. Then I'll probably just let her kill me, because I'm not going to go through the whole fight. It's a little bit long, because we're not optimized just for damage, but we are able to tank hits, so this is definitely a way of playing it. But if you want me to upload just a full video of the fight, maybe I'll do that next before Season 1 ends. But you can see we're using the same build, no like a Fist of Faith or anything like that. Same exact build we've been using the whole video. Let's just jump in here, we'll show off the damage, and then we'll get hit by like one of her waves or something. I'll just show you how you can tank it. You can't take more than one, which I guess shouldn't be that surprising. But you can easily tank her insta-kill mechanics and then heal, and you'll be fine. And it trivializes the fight pretty good, and you can see that just the damage we're putting out either way is like pretty insane for such a defensive build. I'm just going to spawn these two little guys, and then she'll probably start spawning those waves, and we'll go and tank one. Tank this one right here. See? Can tank that easily. I'll do it one more time, I guess. Got our health back. Tank that one. And you can kind of just keep doing that. And now I'll just let her kill me with this next wave. See, we're over health. But yeah, I just want to show off. I mean, we almost had her down to half health in the first phase already, and we didn't even get that many procs or anything like that. But you can use Fist of Fate to trivialize that even more. I just want to show off how you can just tank them easily. And I didn't have to take that last one. I could have healed, and I would have been fine to tank another one. So that's going to be the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you do want the full fight, maybe I'll just post it anyway after this. But I'm definitely excited for Season 2. I hope you enjoyed this build, and I hope you can craft your characters well at the end of Season 1 these last couple of weeks, have fun with them, and then move them over to Eternal Realm, be able to complete that new content over there. So it's been The Butcher. It's been a pleasure, and I will see you guys in the next video.